it's Angel Vane, and this is episode 73 of my author's diary. Happy Halloween, everybody! Now, I don't have any candy to give out to the kiddos for Halloween, so I turned my light off, my front porch light off, so that people would know there's no candy at this house being given out, right? Yeah, kiddos are still knocking on my door. They still bam, 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 knocking on my door. Trick or treat, trick or treat. I don't have no candy to give to them. So hopefully I won't have too many interruptions when I'm doing this video with people knocking on my door trying to get some candy that does not exist right now in my house. Anyway, so I am Angel Vane. I am an author of crime thrillers for women, and every week I take you through the ups and downs that I go through as I try to write and publish new books. So subscribe or follow me if you haven't done so already, so that you won't miss when I'm doing a video. Now, again, today is Halloween, October 31st. That means Nanowrimo starts tomorrow. I do not feel ready for Nanowrimo. Despite all of the efforts and all of the things that I've done so far, I don't feel ready. I kind of feel like my Preptober was a failure. No! Okay. And so I was feeling good. I was feeling really good all the way up until last week, y'all. And what happened last week? Yeah, the day job said, you need to go back into the office to work. So for the past week, I've been going into the office every day and doing my day job, which was weirdly normal. Like, I walked into my office and it was like somebody had just like stopped time. All the papers and stuff were stacked on my desk. Like, everything was just like where it was supposed to be. And it looked like, what just happened? And I walked in, I flowed, and I sat down, and everything, it just felt normal. The only thing that was different is that there's only about 30% of the workforce in the office every day, right? So that was the only thing that was different that made me realize, okay, well, stuff isn't quite back like normal. But as for me and how it felt, like, I just flowed right back into it, as if like I have not been working from home for the past 7 freaking months, right? So that's what it kind of felt like. And then as I started working, like, I'm just as productive at the day job now as I am at home. Like, there's no difference in the work quality or the work production, okay? So what I did notice is that going back into the office has introduced a completely different schedule for me. I feel like I have lost 4 hours out of my day now. 4 hours that I used to use to give to my author life, to my side hustle, to writing books and doing the stuff that I really enjoy doing. Okay, so where's the 4 hours? Okay, so I have an hour commute to work and an hour commute from work back home. So that's 2 hours. I have to wake up earlier and get ready. So that's like another hour. And then when I get home, like, I need that unwind time. I need to unwind from being at the day job, going through traffic. I get back home. I can't just flow straight into doing stuff related to my novels. I have actually got to like decompress, get my mind off of things. Lots of times that's when I watch General Hospital to kind of take me out of work business zone into foolishness dramatic zone. And so that's 4 hours minimum that I'm losing now that I have to go back into work. Well, you know what? That's the worst time for my schedule to change, is a week before Nanowrimo starts. Worst time ever. And then the other thing that I've noticed now that I'm going back to work is that I'm exhausted. Like, my body's not used to getting up and going out anymore, right? So it's like I'm tired. I find that I'm going to bed earlier because I'm like, oh, let me just relax. That's how I feel, right? So you know, I have this extra layer of exhaustion that I'm gonna have to get used to, and I know like in 2 or 3 weeks, like I'm gonna be back used to it. And the other thing, and I know I'm getting off tangent. I will get to Preptober in just a second, but Houston drivers drive like maniacs, right? I forgot. So this past week, I've been driving. I got a lot of highways to drive, right, to get to work. And I've been driving like this. as the cars are like zoom, 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 all around me. And I'm like, Houston drivers drive like fools. But then I was like, oh, you're a Houston driver and you used to not notice that? So does that mean you used to drive like a fool? So does that mean in like a week or two, you'll be back to driving like a fool? Yeah, I think so, right? So I have to get back used to that. And so that has been creating a little tension in the shoulders, right? Because I'm like, oh God, these people driving crazy. And soon I'll be back driving crazy right with them and I won't even notice it. So those are all the things that have changed 1 week before I'm supposed to start NaNoWriMo. Worst timing ever. Okay, so let's get to where I stand right now with Preptober. I have completely plotted out the unexpected hero in short phrases and snippets of things that could happen, right? And so I have it all plotted out, and I think I've checked it against my tent poles, the act structure. I've checked and made sure that I had my 15 core or my 20 core scenes based off the story grid. So I feel good that like the skeleton of the story is there. So the 20 scenes are my skeleton, and I don't think that those would change, but it's putting the meat around those that I'm finding might have some pretty significant tweaks and changes. So what I decided to do after I had the whole story laid out, I decided that, and I had done this before, and I can't remember which book I did it for, but I had done this before where I actually started at the end of the book and I worked back through my plot outline from the end back to the beginning. So I started doing that on Thursday, this past Thursday, and stuff is already changing, y'all. Not the tent poles, not the 20 core scenes, but the meat in between, that stuff is changing. So I'm changing stuff in other scenes so that I can lay in those like little Easter egg, little hidden nuggets that will make sense when you get to the end. By starting at the end of my plot and working my way back, I know what those are, and then I can start thinking about, well, where do I want to insert them? And as I'm thinking about where I want to insert these things, and even just other aspects of how I'm flowing through those 20 core scenes and getting to my tent poles, I'm deciding, oh, but I want to get there a different way, or oh, I want the motivation for this action to be different. So that means that this thing that I had happen in this other scene, you know, towards the middle actually can't happen that way. I need to tweak it this way. And so I'm already making changes like that. And the last thing I want to happen in NaNoWriMo is that I write a bunch of words that I'm going to end up having to send to the cutting room floor and rewrite because the plot has changed. And that's what happened to me last year, right? So I had decided that I'm going to write a sweet, clean holiday romance set in Old Town Tomball, right? So I started, I had the whole plot done, and I started writing, but what I had failed to do was nail down all of my backstory and nail down all of my character motivations. And so then as I'm writing, these characters, they start talking to me, and I'm like, oh, your motivation is really different. So that means the last half of the book that I had plotted out, that doesn't work anymore. So then I tweaked that and changed that, but then as I changed it so that the ending, the last 50% of the book I was happy with, now the first 50% of the book doesn't really match the last half. And so that is what's still waiting for me to go back and edit and finish. Yeah, 2021, not right now. So I'm trying to avoid that at all costs. So I have a plot that is about 80% of the way there, but I want to go back through it one more time, backwards to, end to beginning, to make sure that it hangs together and it works, and I won't be writing a scene that's not necessary, right? So that's the thing that is making me feel like, I'm not ready. I need a few more days just to nail that, right? And so then the next thing that this is impacting is, well, what's going to be my writing schedule for NaNoWriMo? And so what I remember doing last year that really, really helped me was that one, I admitted before November 1st that you will not be writing every day of NaNoWriMo. That is not one of your goals. So don't even walk into this thinking that on the 30 days you're going to be writing some words for your story. No. So I really worked out and said, okay, because back then, like my schedule was different, right? Because I knew I had the day job. I knew the stuff that I did after work, and I knew which days I would be able to, actually come home and write and which ones I wouldn't. And so I had figured out, okay, based off of that and what I know, the other stuff I had to do, then I knew, I counted up how many days I would actually write plan to write in November, and it wasn't 30, right? And so when I look back at the Nanowrimo website, I think I wrote on 20 out of the 30 days. On top of that though, I also said, what hours am I going to write? And I actually shifted and wrote in the morning. And so I would write for like an hour to an hour and a half in the morning, so that when I came home, if I was exhausted and couldn't write and didn't feel like writing, I didn't need to because I had logged my words in the morning. Yeah, not quite gonna be able to do that this year because I'm still getting used to waking up early in the morning to drive to the day job. Boo. Okay. So now I'm like, okay, well, what hours am I gonna write? How am I gonna do this? Like, I don't know yet. Like, I do know that, okay, so I don't have as many competing things to do in the evening like I would do during a normal time. So in theory, I could write every day, right? But the exhaustion factor and getting used to this new schedule of being back at work is throwing a monkey wrench in things. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to figure out what that schedule is, and I have no clue where to start. And so that's something that I still need to figure out is, okay, what times am I going to write so I can commit to that, so that if it's 7 o'clock in the morning or if it's 7 o'clock in the evening, whatever the schedule is, that's one thing that I made sure I stuck to. No, you write from 7 to 8 before you go into work. That's what I did last year. I worked from 7 to 8 and then I drove into work. So if that's going to be my schedule, or if I'm going to say, well, no, because I'm still like struggling to wake up in the morning to even get out of bed to get to work, I don't need to have another distraction in the morning. Maybe I say, okay, well, when you come home, you write from 7 to 8 in the evening. But then what if I had a rough day and what if I'm exhausted? Like, I don't know. I haven't quite decided what those hours are, but I'm going to figure that out before the clock strikes midnight tonight. Thank goodness we're falling back, so I get an extra hour to try to figure that out. And so then the last thing that is really adding all kinds of muddiness to this water, muddy, is I'm trying to do a book launch in December. I am still working through proofreading edits, copy edits of The Fallen Hero, trying to refine and clean up all the little nits now of the book so that it is ready to be published. And I got to get that done in November on top of trying to write 50,000 words of the final book in that series, The Unexpected Hero. So it's just kind of like, I failed at Preptober. But that's just me being dramatic, which y'all know that I am prone to do. I just need to take a deep breath. And so I really start to say, okay, Angel, what does this really mean? The first thing, flexibility. Flexibility is going to be key. I have got to allow myself to be flexible whenever I need to swivel from one plan to another plan. None of the plans will be set in stone now. So if I decide that, hey, I'm going to write when I get home from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and then I blaze through that because I'm exhausted and I don't feel like looking at a computer screen anymore, and I actually don't write, that's okay. I can't beat myself up about it. I have to know that I've got to be a lot more flexible with myself this November because I don't have the same comfort of schedule and comfort of setting a new schedule for Nanowrimo on top of an existing schedule. I'm learning my new existing schedule now that I'm back working from the office. So that's the first thing. The second thing is positivity. I've got to stay positive. If I slip up and don't write for a full week, I cannot beat myself up. I cannot get down on myself. I have to realize that that's part of being flexible, that there are a lot of things going on, and that I've got to be okay that things didn't quite work out how I planned, but that doesn't mean I still won't meet my goal. Got to keep the positivity up. And then the last thing that it means is that at the end of the day, on November 30th, I have to have 50,000 words logged. Point blank, period. I have a t-shirt coming that says I am a winner, which means I won, which means I wrote 50,000 words. So that means if I have to pull all-nighters to get this done, I will log my 50,000 words by the end of November. No exceptions, no excuses. So with that, even though I don't feel like I'm ready for NaNoWriMo, it's coming. And I'll just have to, start and do it. So really what I plan to do seriously The first day of NaNoWriMo tomorrow, November 1st, I'm actually not going to write scenes. I'm going to spend as much time as possible going back through the plot from the end to the beginning to make sure that I'm comfortable with all the scenes and the things that I want to start writing, to make sure that none of them need to change, none of them need to be deleted or tweaked. And so that's the first step that I'm going to do. And I'm really okay with carving out even the first 2 days for that. But I think that by November 3rd, I need to start logging in some word count to put onto the NaNoWriMo site. And I'm going to also plan only to write for 20 out of the 30 days, since that's what I did last year. And so dividing the 50,000 by 20, which I'm an accountant, I should be able to do math in my head. But accountants, for the most part, we rely on our calculators. So I'm going to find my calculators and then tell you what that is. I'm an accountant. Look, I have a calculator everywhere, y'all. Like, seriously, for real though. I got a calculator in my home office. I got a calculator upstairs. I got a calculator in the bedroom. I got a calculator in my office at work. I have a calculator in my computer bag. Like, I have calculators everywhere, no lie. Okay. Yeah, 2,500 words a day. So if I write 20 days out of the month, then that means every day when I write, I need to make sure that I have logged another 2,500 words, right? And so then I will meet my goal. And if I get ahead, great. And if I fall behind, it's okay. Because push come to shove, at some point, I'm going to have to just, prop my eyeballs open and make sure I get it done. Because I will not fail. I will accomplish. I will be a winner for NaNoWriMo in 2020. So, if you want to continue to keep up with me and all the ups and downs that I go through as I write and publish new books, click the subscribe button and then click that little silver bell so you won't miss when I'm doing a video, and I will see you next time.